Welcome, y'all, to the Osage County, Oklahoma podcast. We promise to keep it entertaining, and we guarantee the smiles are always free. I'm your host, Kelly Bland, and I can't wait for you to meet the guest we have today. Let's get started. Are y'all ready to do a podcast?
Let's do it.
First time.
Okay, here we go. This is Kelly Bland with the Osage podcast coming at you live from the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum on this episode. And I'm blessed to be sitting at the table today with Mr. Cody, Garnett, and his beautiful wife, Lauren. Welcome to the Osage podcast, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon.
Hey, Kelly. Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here.
Woohoo! Happy as heck to be here, Kelly. Thanks for having us.
Well, we're sitting with some movers and shakers here in Osage County and Pawhuska for sure in particular. Owners of the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, the Buckin Flamingo, the Flamingo's Nest. Am I leaving anything out, y'all? Tell them a little bit about your business.
Great Osage Auction. Can't leave that one out.
Yeah, the Great Osage Auction and Trading Company, the number one auction company in Osage County.
Woohoo!
It's another one of them.
Yeah.
So, but you about got them all there.
Okay. All right. So before we get into talking about the museum and the flamingos and all this good stuff, I want to take just a minute and talk about y'all. You know, part of the Osage podcast is dealing with the iconic personalities. What makes Pawhuska, and Osage County what it is. And to me, I've thought this from, y'all left an impression on me when I first met you. The first time that I came in and met y'all, I thought, now this is an iconic couple. And so tell our listeners just a little bit about Cody and Lauren. Are you native Pawhuskans? How did y'all meet? Can you kind of give them the backstory?
Gotcha. Man, going way back. I'm born and raised in Pawhuska. Both sides of my family is from here. Actually, my mom's side predates statehood in Osage County. We have our original Indian allotment land that my family still lives on, so lots of ties to Osage County. Obviously, God's country, my favorite place on earth. So I'm born and raised in Osage County in Pawhuska. Went to all through school in Pawhuska. Went to a few colleges and played a few sports. Finished at Oklahoma State, go Pokes.
Okay.
And then got my degree in education and became a teacher. And Cody, I don't know, I better not get into how we met yet, so why don't you tell him about where you grew up?
Oh, you forgot to tell them you're a legend in Osage County.
Well, I don't know if I consider myself that.
Oh yeah, she is. She's part of the Hall of Fame. She's up in the Fieldhouse gym. Her number's retired in the Hall of Fame right there.
Well, it's not necessarily retired, but they did induct me into the Basketball Hall of Fame a few years ago.
Oh my gosh. Woo.
Yeah, and actually, so I have two great uncles that are also in the Hall of Fame. So
the youngest person to ever be inducted.
That's
my
true.
gosh.
So that was special.
And she holds the home run record for Pawhuska still in softball.
I love a husband.
I know, isn't he the best? I tell you, I forgot about all that. So, well, thank you.
Neat. So we're sitting here with a star.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Okay, or a legend like that.
Well, me, I was not born and raised in Pawhuska or Osage County, but it did always feel like home to me because it's the steer roping capital of the world, and my dad's a steer roper, 9-time national final steer roper, so we were in Pawhuska quite a bit. You know, for the Ben Johnson roping or the Osage ropings they have out at the Kylers now. They used to have them right here in town at the fairgrounds when we first started going to them in the early 80s. So I have a lot of lifelong friends from the time I was little bitty to today that I've known from right here in Osage County. It's always felt like a second home to me.
Well, that's actually how we met. Cody was up here. He was the stock contractor for a roping out at the fairgrounds, had the cattle. And I had just graduated college, like I said, and had my teaching job and had no interest in meeting anyone at the time. I just knew I was going to meet some cute coach on the road someday and, have cute little basketball babies and go on. But my aunt and another friend were like, hey, you need to meet Cody. And that was really about it. I mean, after that day, everywhere I looked, he was there.
Was it love at first sight?
Maybe second sight. Second sight.
What about for you, Cody? Was it love at first sight?
Oh yeah. I just swept her off her feet, and we actually have spent almost every day together since that day we met right here. Coming 12 years almost now.
Yep. So the fairgrounds is a special place to us. The fairgrounds here in Osage County, the Ben Johnson Arena, because that's where we met. And now we have the Ben Johnson Museum, so it's just full circle.
Well, yeah, it is. That's amazing. I'm watching Cody's eyes too as he talks about his wife, and they tell his story. I mean, it's like a softer side of Cody. It's precious.
I know.
Well, her dad, he's been the arena director for the world's largest amateur rodeo this is going to be his 25th year for being the arena director for the cavalcade. So anything that goes in the arena of cavalcade, her dad takes care of. So we had a real common interest in the way rodeos work and things like that, because we were stock contractors. Not only was my dad a 9-time national finalist, we had a family business. We supplied the roping steers everywhere in the United States, from Cheyenne, Wyoming, the Cheyenne Frontier Days, to the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. They were using our steers almost exclusively in the PRCA for a number of years.
Oh, wow.
So,
those are good roots.
Yeah, so I would throw about 100 head of steers on the trailer and my horse on the back and go
in
to
the cattle trailer.
Yeah.
This national final horse. Yeah.
So we threw all that together, and I just loaded Lauren right up there.
And then I jumped in, and a couple of years later, we had Daisy along, our first daughter, and hit the road rodeoing for a few years before we settled down. So
oh my goodness,
that was fun.
It was a great time.
And one thing Lauren was telling me before we started this podcast is that she and Cody love doing business together, working together, and spending time together, and I just think that's unique and good, especially since you're doing a whole lot of it.
Yeah, actually, so that's why all of this started, to be honest. I was a teacher and a coach. Like I said, my whole world revolved around sports, and so I was coaching and teaching, and Cody was working, trading, how cowboys are, just day work and trading.
Yeah.
Decided he wanted to open a pawn shop. So that was kind of our start. We decided, hey, we're better together. We get along better when we're together. So let's find something we can do together. So all of these businesses we have created, honestly, all stemmed from Cody's desire for us to work together every day.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know. I almost get emotional, and I'm not even an emotional person.
You're a lucky guy.
He came home one day and said, I'm going to find a way for us to be together every day. And I'll be darned.
Gosh.
I know, right?
Okay.
Stop with the emotions.
If y'all can see my face, Kelly's jaw is dropping because Cody Garnett is a figure in town, and he's a passionate person.
He's very passionate.
He's very, very passionate. And for him to have such a passion for his wife that he'd go after these businesses where y'all could do that, that's admirable, man. That's amazing.
So everything
got a soft heart in there.
Oh, he's got the biggest heart. The biggest.
I love that.
Everything we do is because of that. So it all just snowballed. We started with the pawn shop, and then we've worked our way from there.
Wow. Okay, so when you come to Pawhuska, you're going to recognize the presence of the Garnetts. Their business on Main. It's called the Buckin Flamingo. And there might be this little yellow, what is the name of that rig? Is it
the Flamingo rig?
The Flamingo, but what's the brand?
It's like a Suzuki
or
steering wheels on the other side.
There you go, little bitty Japanese pickup.
With a covered wagon on the back.
Yeah, and a Flamingo with a saddle on the back of it. And Cody might be making the rounds through town, blowing his horn and whooping it up and inviting people to come down there. But also, the window down there will catch your eye. There's like the Blues Brothers and Elvis. So tell me about the creativity that goes behind the Buckin Flamingo, and tell everybody a little bit about the Buckin Flamingo.
Well, we got the chance a few years ago to move over to Main Street. So now we're on Main Street. So when you drive through Pawhuska, make sure you look up and you look for the 8-foot tall flamingo on the side of the building. You'll know you're at the Buckin Flamingo. There's also how long's the dinosaur?
12-foot, 14-foot dinosaur, I believe.
Yeah,
he's a 14-footer.
14-foot dinosaur out front. Of course, Kelly said we've got the Elvis and the Blues Brothers. We've got some real fun stools
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That people like to sit
fanny
in,
stools.
the fanny stools that people sit in and take pictures of. So really, your eyes would have to be closed or looking for the Merc, which is understandable, to miss the Buckin Flamingo. So on Main Street, yeah, it's pretty.
It actually started off right here in the museum because this used to be the pawn shop. And it was just a corner that we were adding on a couple of years before the Pioneer Woman opened for us to get on board with, her target demographic, folks that were going to be coming in to see the Pioneer Woman. So we were just trying to get something going
And we have all kinds of cool stuff.
to complement that, for sure. Yeah, and we
So
specialize
now
in cool stuff.
Now it's evolved into, we've got yard, metal art, some of the, 5-foot chickens if you need one of those in your life. I think we've got a pig on a unicycle. So there's just some really fun things. But then we've also expanded to be one of the biggest turquoise jewelry, Native American made turquoise jewelry sellers, probably in this area.
Yeah, and you're online on Facebook.
I am,
Yep.
yeah. We've got a great Sunday night live turquoise sale Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Central Time on our Facebook page, which is just, we're the only Buckin Flamingo on Facebook, fairly certain in the world. So make sure you check that out if you're into turquoise jewelry.
For sure. It's the largest weekly turquoise sale in the nation if you want authentic Native American turquoise jewelry.
And we love meeting folks. So if you guys do get a chance to come in and see us, anyone that's out there listening, make sure you tell us, because we're just old-fashioned. It's just a family business. My mom, my aunt, my cousin, they all work in the store with us. So we're just like family. We feel like we know you when you come in, so we're going to treat you like we know you probably. So hopefully everyone's good with that. But make sure you say, hey, we heard you on Kelly's or Osagin It podcast.
Yeah. Or saw you on the Sunday Night Live.
Or the Sunday, yeah. So.
Well, and so you've also got the Flamingos Nest. It's a beautiful, large home. I've been in it. Lots of bedrooms, big front porch, nice back area where you come in. Tell them a little bit about that.
So speaking of family business, that was actually my uncle's house. He was downsizing, and Cody, I'm a little bit of more, I'm a safer person. I'm a little, I'm cautious. I'm a saver. Cody is the complete opposite of that, which is a great thing because I've learned a lot from him. So he said, I think Ree's going to be bringing all these people to town to see the mercantile. I think they're going to need somewhere to stay. I want to buy this house and rent it out by the night. Well, I didn't even know what Airbnb was at the time. We had never done that.
We were the first registered Airbnb in Pawhuska.
Other than the bed and breakfasts. But Cody, I'm telling you, I'm just the muscles behind the brains. He's the brains, He's got all these. He's a promoter. You know how he told you about putting on the rodeos and anything. You give him anything, and he can promote it to its fullest. So we bought the house. We turned it into an Airbnb. It sleeps up to 15 people. It's huge. Pool table, foosball table, hot tub. So if you come to Pawhuska to visit the Ben Johnson Museum and the flamingos, the Buckin Flamingo, you can find the Flamingo's Nest on Airbnb. Book it right on there. It's a beautiful house.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Oh, and the chandelier in there is from one of the old Drummond homes. So there's a lot of old history in the house as well. So it's a cool place to stay.
Yeah, it looks neat. It's like a nice, large family gathering. It'd be a great place to spend Christmas and holidays.
Yeah, actually, people rent it out for their family when they come to town for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Have baby showers. People have rented it out for baby showers. So.
Hunters rent it out.
Oh yeah, I've got hunters in there right now. They're hunting for the week, and they go there so they can play pool, and so
We'll
it's
rent
great.
it out by the night, by the week, by the month, by the year, or by the hour.
Oh no. By the day. Day's the minimum.
Okay, so before we move to the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, we've got Flamingo's Nest, the Buckin Flamingo. What's the deal with flamingos?
I wish I had some really crazy story for you, but we've always loved to travel. That's one thing Cody has introduced me to. I didn't grow up traveling. I didn't know how much I was missing out there. And so, for some reason, flamingos remind us of traveling. I don't know. We've always seen flamingos when we've traveled, whether it be real ones or, so, I don't know. Flamingos. And then I also thought, something a little odd for Osage County. Like, what sticks out that's going to make people think,
We
What
wanted to
is
have a
that?
Western flair to our store,
Yeah.
a store with the flamingo in the
Throw
name.
a
So
saddle on the
Yeah, so we just saddled our flamingo and figured if he's gonna buck, probably. So we
well,
ended
it
up-
was my first thought was flamingo on the prairie. So I went and took a picture of a flamingo out by the buffalo. It just didn't resonate with me. But long story short, we love flamingos and we love bucking horses and we love the bucking lifestyle. So we just went with the Buckin Flamingo, and we wanted to be totally original, and we feel like
And it worked
is.
out because now when folks leave the store, we get to tell them to have a great bucking day. So it works out really well. Real glad we went with that.
Great bucking weekend.
Yeah, and a great bucking weekend. So
A bucking good time.
yes,
That's right.
Yeah.
The only rule we got in there is we go by loose rules in the Buckin Flamingo. So
Yep. Our
we
field
specialize in things you can't find at Walmart in the Buckin Flamingo.
Hey, you gotta have those places.
rules. Absolutely.
For sure.
There you go. All right, so we're sitting here in the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, and it just keeps getting better and better. It's been open a little bit over a year now. Give us the backstory to that. You know, where you think it's going, because I know y'all dream it up and you make it happen.
Tell them where it started.
Where it started, I don't know. Everybody has to have their passion. Like you said, I'm a very passionate person. I grew up, every side of my family were cowboys, successful cowboys. One of my grandparents, he was the wagon boss for a division of the Matador Ranches, the real famous Matador Ranches. And he kept the wagon, and they took him all over the country, actually cooking on this wagon. He lived at the Marriott Ranches for the Marriott Hotel Corporation back in Virginia, cooked for them back there, and you know, so I've always had a very, very deep appreciation for the cowboy history. It's just something, you know, my dad was a rodeo guy, so we'd be at Cheyenne Frontier Days, and I didn't have any money, but if you were a contestant or family member of a contestant, they let you go in the museum for free. So I'd spend all day in the Cheyenne Frontier Days Museum, or the Pendleton Roundup Museum up in Oregon, you know, or the Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City, or the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs. So I've always had a very deep appreciation for just the cowboy way of life. And this started out, it was going to be the Steer Roping Hall of Fame, because we're steer ropers and I know every steer roper, and this is the steer roping capital of the world. But the more I got to putting that together and thinking about that in my mind, we noticed that there was a very, very high concentration of the greatest cowboys to ever live, and some of the most iconic Western events to ever take place in history
We're right here in Osage County.
were right here in Osage County.
And yet all these folks come to Osage County every year and no one knows. No
We don't
one
have a
remembers.
sign up for any of them, you know, coming into any of the towns that they're from in the area. So that struck us very, very hard, and so we decided right then and there.
We just thought, what a shame to have all these tourists now coming to our wonderful town that has so much to offer and leaving without knowing what great things these people have done. I mean, this is what built our county. This is what built our cowboy history. And, you know, we have some of the most iconic ranches right here in Osage County.
Ever.
So we just felt like, you know, because the cowboy, the Western way of life is how we live. We noticed that as the world evolves and we're getting into these uncertain times, that there's a lot of folks that are sure drawn to the simple way of living.
I'm with you on that.
You know, just working hard every day. You know, just cutting out all the rat race. And so we thought, well, if they're coming here craving that, let's show them where we came from. Let's show them where Osage County came from. Let's show them who built it. And so Cody has just ran with it. He has just ran with it.
Yeah, once people came in here and saw what we were doing, you know, we had very, very great support. And why not name it after the world's greatest cowboy?
Absolutely.
In our opinion,
Absolutely, because
we're
you know
so
we
proud
all
of.
love John Wayne. Now let's just put that out there. I love the Duke. I grew up on Duke movies. I mean, I know all the ones he died in. I know, you know, I'm a John Wayne girl. But John Wayne was an actor who played a cowboy and played it well. You know, we feel like Ben Johnson's the greatest cowboy ever because he's a world champion and an Academy Award winner. They just don't get better. So why not name the museum for the greatest cowboy there is?
And
his dad.
Here in Osage
Born and
County.
raised and buried right here in Osage County.
And his dad, Ben Johnson
We'll
Sr.
tell him about that. So, yeah.
He's 1922 world champion. He was a world champion before Ben Johnson was even born. So,
And his
1922 world champion. So, he always, that's just such a great thing. He was the foreman of the great Chapman Barnard Ranch, which is now the Tallgrass Prairie Reserve and Bass Brother Ranch up there. So,
Well, and even all the folks that come, every Father's Day, we have a great tradition that's still going on. What, do you know the number of the Ben Johnson roping?
I believe it's 56 years.
Yeah, so, anytime you can get something going for 56 years, I don't think even Pawhuskans know that it's on Father's Day because, Ben Jr., Ben's son, and his dad, Ben Sr., were both world champions. And so that's why they have it on Father's Day, is because you have Ben's son honoring his father. Where the roping is named for Ben Johnson Sr., that most people don't know that. They assume it's Junior that the roping's named for. Yeah. But Junior actually helped start it for Senior. And so, again, Western way of life passed from generation to generation, and we just wanted to show that to everyone that maybe doesn't know that that's how we live here in Osage County.
We got another event, and they had it this year. I got to really give the Cavalcade a lot of respect this year for having their event when almost every event in the country didn't have theirs. They stepped up and had it, and just because of that, next year is going to be their 75th uninterrupted year in a row to have the world's largest amateur rodeo, and that's a real accomplishment, and we're real proud of that particular rodeo too.
And while we're on that subject, right before we started this podcast, Cody, you were telling me that the Ben Johnson's going to be enhanced a little bit this next year in with the Cattlemen's. Tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like in June of 2021.
Well, fingers crossed. The Ben Johnson Museum, and a group of local Osage County citizens have gotten together to put together Ben Johnson Days, which is going to take the place of Cattlemen's Week. So we're also going to have the same Cattlemen's events, and all the other events go on that week, but we're going to name it in honor of Ben Johnson. So both Ben Johnsons, and it'll be capped off on Sunday by the great Ben Johnson Memorial Steer Roping, but on Friday and Saturday leading into it, we're hoping to get a WRCA Ranch Rodeo sanctioned here, which is the Professional Ranch Rodeo Association,
which
the premier.
We have world champion teams from right here in Osage County, so going back to more of our world champs.
Yes, we got a high concentration of world champion ranch rodeos, even of 2 husband-wife ranch rodeos. So 2 separate sets of husbands and wives, Chris and Amy Potter. So Chris has won multiple ranch rodeo world championships. Come to find out, Amy, she's won a women's ranch rodeo world championship. Also, we have the Steerwalt family, Shane and Jenna Steerwalt.
Both are ranch rodeo world champions.
One time for Shane.
Jenna 4-time.
Jenna's 4-time world champion. We're real.
Where else can you go and find 2 sets of married world champions in the ranch rodeo
and we
world?
just had the women's ranch rodeo.
We did.
World Finals
We did.
right here.
Sponsored by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum.
We did. I just got confirmation the 15th and 16th of October of next year they're coming back.
That's wonderful.
100%. The board of directors done voted on it. The women's ranch rodeo world championship is coming back to Pawhuska, and anybody listening out there, if you want to be a great sponsor of it, get a hold of those people at the Women's Ranch Rodeo Association, because it's going to be a great event, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger every year right here in Pawhuska.
When I started this off talking about y'all being iconic personalities, I hope our listeners out there can get the feel of what I'm talking about, because talk about leaving your thumbprint, leaving an impression on the place that you're from, the vision behind doing this, the appreciation for the history. It's all expressed in how you live your lives and what you're doing with your businesses here. And in my opinion, it's making Osage County and Pawhuska better.
Well, thank
I
you.
just want to thank y'all for what you do here.
Well, we wouldn't do it if it's just our passion, you know. It's what we love.
It's your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a thought, Cody, when you were talking about the Ben Johnson Museum here. Your knowledge of history is so far surpassing of just kind of the average person, because it's something you know spend a lot of time in. When people come to visit the museum here, is it something that you would consider, or is it something maybe you're already doing and I don't realize it, but can they maybe get a personal tour with you where you give them the history as they go through the museum? Is that a possibility, or is that happening?
When I'm here, we do it anyway. You know, we
Absolutely, though. All you got to do is call him.
for sure. Yeah, just give us a call. We got Anna here, but she gives personal tours through it. She's very knowledgeable.
And Anna has a lot of great stories of her connections to a lot of the folks here in the museum, and so she's a great asset to the museum as well. So if anyone does come visit the museum, Anna will sure take care of you. But yeah, you know, eventually, so right now this is still just a privately owned museum. You know, we're working on becoming a nonprofit where we can run off of donations, but that's scary in itself sometimes when you're in a small little town. So ideally, my hope is someday we can have, you know, some great technology that we can incorporate and even add to the museum. So we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to improve. But for now, you know, anytime someone wants a personal little tour, Cody or I can.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
We got so much coming
We
down
love
the
it.
pike
We
here.
love to talk to people.
We just
Actually,
added Buffalo.
So one little story I wanted to, you know, we talked about Cody's grandpa being a chuck wagon cook for the Marriott ranches. So I'm not going to get too emotional and all out there. But you know how I feel like when you're doing what you're supposed to do, like, you know, there's signs. There's signs that say, hey, keep going. Keep going. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Well, we, with our auction company a few years ago sold Jim Hamilton. He's actually featured in the museum. He's a world-renowned bronze artist. He did a sculpture of Ben Johnson, and they're both from here. So we actually were hired to sell a lot of his old bronzes by his daughter. So we had an art auction, and we sold all these bronzes. We sold probably, how many, 500 bronzes?
Quite a few bronzes.
I say that because Cody set one in at a bid, and no one bought it. So he was stuck with it. So he bought it. One out of all those bronzes, okay? One bronze. Well, we brought it over to the museum and set it on a shelf and forgot about it. Cody was just really dying to have a chuck wagon display in the museum because chuck wagon cooks are so, you know, special to him with his grandpa being one of the, you know, a really well-known chuck wagon cook. Wanted to have a chuck wagon display in the museum. Couldn't quite, because everything in the museum, in case we haven't made that clear, everything in the Ben Johnson Museum is from Osage County. Everyone, everything, there are ties to this county. Not just anyone can be in the museum. But we couldn't quite figure out how to tie a chuck wagon, you know, to Osage County specifically. And he was losing sleep over it. Well, I'll be darned, we come in one day and we just happened to look at that bronze that we had bought on accident, and it was a chuck wagon cook. Well, so we get to reading on it, and it's got his little name and it etched in there, C.L. Bromley. Little Google search quickly reveals that he was a chuck wagon cook who retired in Pawhuska and became famous for making model chuck wagons.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was just like, well, what is the odds that that's the bronze we ended up getting stuck with, not even intentionally buying.
Right.
And so John Free, who we have his father, John Sr.,
two-time national Western Art Award
of the Year,
winner.
We have a lot of his bronzes and paintings featured. Well, it's actually the only place you can go and see a collection of John D. Free artwork. Well, John Jr. said, oh yeah, I have an article on C.L. Bromley. What? You have an art? You remember? He went home and got it. And that's just one example of how, as we were putting the museum together, I felt like we just kept getting these signs like, This is what you're supposed to do, because you sink a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort into it, and then you think, what if people don't like it? Oh my gosh, and so those signs were just kind of...
Tell them about those spurs real quick.
Oh my gosh.
When you said that
Here's another one.
put in your heart and you're afraid people won't like it, it made me think of the story that of Ree, the night before the Merc opened, that she was afraid, what if no one comes?
Oh my gosh, yep, same feeling.
Yeah.
I knew people were coming to see her.
We knew people were coming to see Ree for sure.
We all thought
Yep, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So another story, we, after doing a lot of research, Cody came across some information that we confirmed that, I'm drawing a blank. Crockett, Oscar Crockett, started his silver spur making career in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. So if you know anything about bits and spurs, you've heard the name Crockett.
Yeah.
Crockett Bits and Spurs. Everyone's heard the name Crockett Bits and Spurs.
For sure.
So Cody comes across this. We confirm it. I'll be darned, it's a block from where the museum is, where his original shop was.
Really?
So in 1918, Oscar Crockett moved to Pawhuska and opened up a shop.
1916.
16.
And then he moved out in 18.
Well, so in 1918, he moved to Washington State to help, since he was a metal worker, he went to help with World War I efforts, and he became a shipbuilder. And then when the war was over, he never came back to Oklahoma. But no one knew about this first part. So we thought, well, how cool someday if we would ever be fortunate enough to come across a pair of spurs that he made in Pawhuska, right? How cool to have somewhere like this. And it was just a pipe dream. So Cody knows a Crockett Bit and Spur expert out of Colorado. Call him. He tells us exactly how they're stamped and where on the band when he made them in Pawhuska. We're like, okay, well, at least now we know what to look for. So, pipe dream, we're thinking in 15 years someday maybe we'll come across a pair. I'll be darned if my aunt doesn't say, I think your uncle has a pair of those.
Oh my God.
And bless her heart, my aunt doesn't know anything about bits and spurs. So I thought now, just because it's a pair of spurs doesn't mean it's a pair of Crockett's made in Pawhuska, right? Guess what? My great-grandpa, Bus Labadee, bought those spurs from Oscar Crockett himself, and they've been in my family ever since. I almost get emotional about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, because I came up from Texas and, I was once upon a time as Cowboys, but I'd heard of Crockett spurs.
Of course.
When I saw that, here I was floored. I thought, but then my second thought, besides the shock of I can't believe that's from,
I know.
Pawhuska, was it fits.
Right, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And so when we had those spurs in my family originally bought from him, I just thought, that's another. And then I've got a cousin on the other side who has a pair of C.P. Shipley spurs that were made in Pawhuska as well. And so the spur expert flew in from Colorado, identified both pair, and said it's two of the earliest Oscar Crockett spurs he's ever seen. Right here in Pawhuska, we've got them on display.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
what a story?
I know.
What a find.
And just how everything lines up and how that worked out just made me think like, well, it's supposed to be. Yeah. Surely.
Well,
surely.
Looking around, I would definitely say it's supposed to be.
We're going to be building on real soon.
Oh,
Soon. We're going to be building on.
Cody's never satisfied.
Well, okay, so you've got a horse that you can rope a steer off in here, and then you said something about a buffalo a minute ago.
Oh yeah, we got free buffalo rides in the lobby.
Free buffalo rides.
You got a real gentle buffalo.
Roping off of a horse. We've got that. We've even got stock racks in here to show the transportation of horses, how that's evolved. A lot of folks don't think that cowboys didn't always have horse trailers. Yeah. So we've got a lot of really neat exhibits.
If you're a fan of the Killers of the Flower Moon saga, we got the original Territory prison doors here that William Hale stood behind. You can take your picture behind them here, too.
Actually, Henry Grammer was also mentioned in that book, Killers of the Flower Moon. Wasn't necessarily one of the greater characters, kind of a shady character, but he's actually a world champion.
1916 steer roping world champion from right here.
We have a pair of his shaps on display. They're over 100 years old. And so the story that we have for you to read in his display, just think it's so neat. he was a great livestock judge. He judged a lot of livestock events, Henry Grammer. Well, they needed him to judge the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Found out he had killed a guy and was in prison in Montana.
No.
Wyoming.
He had served time in prison in Montana for killing a guy.
Yeah.
And got out and resettled over here in Osage County by Caw City. Well, anyway, for tax evasion, he was serving time at the Oklahoma State Pen.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's in the Oklahoma State Pen for tax evasion.
So then the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo Committee writes a letter to the governor of Oklahoma requesting his presence as a judge, and they let him out of prison to go judge the rodeo, and then he goes back and finishes his time.
On his own recognizance.
On his own recognizance. Just let him out and said, okay, come back when you're done. And so, that's just one little example of one story you'll find at the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum. I mean, one little story.
We had a shotgun that Will Rogers presented to him after they crowned him world champion. After he'd done served time in prison for murder, but they didn't consider a shotgun a lethal weapon.
They gave a convicted murderer a shotgun for his price. So anyway, lots of really, really fun little tidbits of history that most people don't know.
We have his Hamley-made chaps that he wore in the 101 Wild West show. He was also a performer in it. They're on display for everybody to get a real good close look at. Mm-hmm. He was a real character, that guy. I'm excited to see who's going to play him in the movie when it comes out. Henry Grammer.
Yeah, that's starting to be all the buzz again.
That's what I hear.
I saw him walking around town just the other day measuring stuff. So
did you?
We'll see.
Well, we're definitely known for our history, and you guys are definitely known for showcasing it and bringing the personality and the passion, as well as maybe the right perspective as well to our community, keeping things Western.
Absolutely.
Bringing out the history, keeping it good.
Staying with our roots is what we're doing.
And one other thing I just wanted to throw out there, because I'm sure proud of it. I've always thought Osage County was special because where else can you find such a melting pot of oil history, cowboy history, and Indian history? Well, in the museum, what I think is so neat is at least 4 of our world champion cowboys and cowgirls are also enrolled members in the Osage tribe. So they're world champion. Lynn Starr, she's featured in here. She is still to this day the only woman to ever make it to the Indian National Finals in team roping. Still to this day.
And
only woman to have ever done that.
She won the barrel racing world championship in the Indian
in the
Rodeo
Indian
Association.
Rodeo Association.
The breakaway twice.
Yep. She was the princess.
She was the queen. The queen of it. We have her.
So me, me being Osage. Lynn, when she won Indian Pro Rodeo Queen, she had a special sash and pants made with ribbon work on them, and they were made by, and if you're from Osage County and you're listening, you'll know, made by Maudie Cheshawala, who made some of the most beautiful ribbon work ever before she passed away too soon. And so we have that on display, and I think there's nothing cooler than a Indian cowgirl queen with ribbon work down her pants and on her it's just to me it's the perfect showcase of how here in Osage County we've got it all.
We got a picture of her even riding a bull. We've just started the process of trying to get her in the Cowgirl Hall of Fame down in Fort Worth, Texas, because she's actually a pioneer in the breakaway roping events and one of the best women ropers ever.
And she's also, still to this day, the undisputed women's steer roping champion. So, we feature all kinds of, people that almost were forgotten, I feel like. And we can't forget our world champions. We can't forget what they've done. And when you're the best in the world at something, everyone needs to know, in my opinion. I mean,
every single facet of equine sports, we have one.
Absolutely. We've got Tommy Marvin, one of the all-time high money earning winners in the AQHA.
Yeah, the National Cutting Horse Association. He's a world champion. He won the Open for Charity down in Fort Worth a few years ago. We have racehorse jockey world champions, 10-time world champion, never to be repeated, G.R. Carter. quarter horse jockey.
Well, and we're the home of Black Gold.
Absolutely.
Home of Black
and that's
Gold.
a cool story.
He won the 50th
We've got
running
a display in there to Black Gold because
of the Kentucky
he's a
Derby.
Kentucky Derby champion from Osage County.
You know, GR also holds the record in 5 other breeds. The world record for the number of world records in 5 other
They
breeds.
say GR Carter will never be caught in world titles in the horse racing industry. And you know, he's from right here in Osage County. He's
His
a
uncle?
state champion, Pawhuska Husky wrestler. He got famous for doing backflips off of his horses whenever he would win a race.
His
And
uncle
so-
Barton was the 1926 world champion steer roper,
Talk
also
about keeping it
born
in
and
the
raised
family.
right here.
Who was
in
best
Osage
friends
County.
with.
Will Rogers was his best friend, and he
And-
sold him his favorite roping horse, Soap Suds.
So GR Carter's uncle sold Will Rogers his favorite horse ever, Soap Suds. And we've got all that.
And his grandpa sold him his other favorite roping horse, Bootlegger.
All that information is right here in the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum. You know, we've got so much to show everyone.
Well, and it's no wonder that song in those Oklahoma hills, where it says "In the land of the great
Osage, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I think
It was written about this area.
It was written, I think, right here, in my opinion.
I do too. Well, as we sign off, why don't y'all give everybody an invite to come see you and throw out your contact information that you'd like to have out there for them, and then I'll sign us off.
Well, we'll start with the Buckin Flamingo. So don't forget about our Facebook Live jewelry sales. Just check us out, Buckin Flamingo,
Every Sunday night at 7 p.m.
on Facebook. Watch us on there. Come to visit us on Main Street if you come to town.
For sure.
We've got the Flamingo's Nest.
The best time you can have with your clothes on in Pawhuska.
We've got the Flamingo's Nest, place to stay. It sleeps up to 15. It's available on Airbnb.com. So make sure you book your stay at the Flamingo's Nest. And the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum.
Right now we're open 6 days a week through the winter, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 6, but we won't close you out. We won't lock you out if you want to stay a little bit longer if you get here right before closing time.
And they can call the museum if they'd like to set up a personal tour.
For sure.
Absolutely.
If you got
Yep.
a tour bus, call us. If you just want a personal tour, call us. If you
And we
want
have
to
a-
know things about the area, call us. We'll
Anything. We
be
love to
glad
talk.
help
If you want to
you.
take them out to dinner, call us.
Absolutely. We prefer the Merc, but we'll go anywhere.
Check out our other Facebook, the Great Osage Auction and Trading Company.
I was
Plan
gonna,
your trip around an auction because they're really a great time. You'll meet all the locals around, plus people from everywhere. We got a huge following at our auctions, and it's always a great family-friendly time at one of our auctions. And there's a great concession stand. You can guarantee at every one of them too.
I did want to remind them, though, that the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum is on Facebook as well. Just Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, and online at www.benjohnsoncowboymuseum.com.
There you go.
So give us a call.
All right, well, Cody and Lauren, I have enjoyed this. Y'all have made me smile. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for joining me on Osage today.
Thanks for having us. This was our first podcast, so thank you, Kelly.
Well, this is Kelly Bland signing off for Osage. And if y'all come see us in Osage County, when you do, be sure you put Pawhuska on your list and stop by the Buckin Flamingo, spend the night at the Flamingo's Nest, and don't you dare miss the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum. We'll catch you when you're here. Check us out online at visittheosage.com. That's Osage County, Oklahoma, where the smiles are always free. All right.
Hopefully we did
You
good.
did good.